We have more now on that bombshell. New reporting from MSNBC's Carol Leonnig and Ken Dilanian. But the Trump Justice Department shut down an investigation into White House border czar Tom Homan. Last year, in an undercover operation, the FBI recorded Homan accepting $50,000 in cash after indicating he could help agents who were posing as business executives win government contracts in the second Trump administration. At the time, Homan was the owner of a private consulting business and was not a public official. Two sources told MSNBC that in recent weeks, Trump appointees officially closed the investigation after FBI Director Kash Patel requested a status update on the case. When asked for comment about MSNBC's reporting, the White House, the Justice Department, and the FBI dismissed the investigation as politically motivated and baseless. Tom Homan did not respond to MSNBC's request for comment. Joining us now, Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland, who serves as ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Good to finally have you on.
I'm delighted to be with you guys.
Can you give us your response to this bombshell reporting from Carol and Ken?
Well, this is astonishing. I mean, everybody needs to know that the FBI was actually involved in a different investigation in Texas when one of the subjects there was apparently overheard talking about Tom Homan taking money in return for a promise to give people contracts when the new administration began. So then they added an investigative component to look into Tom Homan, and they sent in FBI agents, as I understand it, undercover with $50,000 wrapped up in a restaurant bag, and he accepted the $50,000 apparently in return for a promise to steer them contracts when he got in. Now, why didn't they charge him with bribery right then? He wasn't a government official. Theoretically, he could have been charged with something else, like perhaps conspiracy to commit bribery, but the FBI and the DOJ reasoned that they would be better, given that they had it on tape, apparently, and they had nailed that down, to wait for him to get in and then have, at that point, him deliver on it, deliver on the promised contract to, I think it was a fictitious business, and at that point they'd be able to close the case. Well, under Kash Patel, the FBI, and under Pam Bondi, the DOJ, simply decided to close down the investigation and say that there was no basis for it. So obviously, we are going to demand an investigation into the whole thing, but we would like them to turn over the tape. If there is no crime recorded on the tape, and if apparently he was completely absolved, as they're saying now, turn that tape over and let's make that public.
Another thing that happened over the last couple of days is President Trump on Truth Social last night urging Pam Bondi to prosecute his rivals, and that we can't delay any longer. I want to read a little bit from it and get your reaction. Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially, quote, same old story as last time, all talk, no action, nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam, his words, Shifty Schiff, Letitia, that's Letitia James. They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. Justice must be served now. President DJT. There are a couple things here. One, the President of the United States publicly doing this. He has access to Pam Bondi, more access than most presidents have access to their attorney general. So this is something he could have said behind the scenes. What do you think the point is of putting it out there publicly? It's not surprising, but what do you think the point was for him doing this publicly instead of privately?
Well, he obviously wants to condition the public to the idea that it's completely legitimate for the President of the United States not only to be ordering prosecutions of particular people over the objections of prosecutors who say there's no probable cause to pursue a prosecution, but he wants to condition the public to accepting the idea he can do that in public, openly, sort of like, you know, when he said, you know, Russia, if you're listening, go and get those emails. He's basically saying, I'm going to tell you who to prosecute, and I'm going to tell you in front of the whole world who to prosecute. It was his handpicked U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Virginia, Mr. Sievert, who looked into it and then said there's no basis there to charge an offense against Letitia James. And that's what infuriated the president, and that's why they sacked him or forced him out of the job. I think Trump said, no, you're not quitting, I'm firing you. You know, it's a race to see whether he could get out of that completely unethical cesspool faster, or whether Trump could somehow, you know, claim credit for saying you're fired. But in any event, it was his U.S. attorney who said there's nothing there. Now, what's comical about the whole thing is Donald Trump is, of course, ruining any potential prosecution of any of these people. And, of course, most of it seems completely fabricated in each case that he's talking about. But he's ruining it because he is demonstrating to the court eventually that this is selective criminal investigation and selective prosecution.
Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Robert Garcia. He's ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. Congressman Garcia, thanks for joining us this evening. Let's just begin with your reaction to this bombshell reporting.
I mean, it's outrageous. Obviously, this is incredible levels of corruption coming out of this White House. The fact that this is being swept under the rug by the Justice Department just goes again to what is happening right now across this country. And this is very concerning. First, Tom Homan obviously needs to be fired immediately. He is the person right now at the White House working with DHS, directing what's happening across the country. In most cases, illegal raids, taking away due process from people in this country, deporting, in some cases, American citizens. And this man took a bribe. This is someone that should be nowhere near the government. The level of corruption here is staggering, and I want to commend this reporting. It's clear that oversight, as well as other parts and other committees of our caucus, are going to have to investigate this. There is no question. Tom Homan should be fired immediately. And the fact that this is the same person that is out there raiding and working to raid car washes and restaurants and factories and deporting people for not having, in most cases, any sort of criminal conviction. Tom Homan should self-deport himself. This is completely stunning. I think the American public has got to deserve that he's fired immediately and demand that he's fired immediately. And all of us in the committee work need to ensure that we investigate.
Do you think this is going to cross the line for any of your Republican colleagues? We're, of course, hearing from the White House that this is, you know, the deep state. They're essentially saying that there's nothing here to Carol and Ken Dilanian, our colleagues. And then already online, we can see reactions from some on the right who basically are saying that they don't care, or they're not finding this concerning or credible. But do you think there are any colleagues who publicly or behind closed doors are going to say this is too much?
I hope so. I mean, unfortunately, where we are right now, a point in time where Republicans seem to have no courage, could care less about corruption in the government, allow Donald Trump to do whatever he wants, and are not willing to defend the hardworking men and women and the line workers at the Department of Justice, the agents at the Department of Justice, the ones that are working at the FBI. We have thousands of men and women that are career civil servants that have been working to uphold the law in this country and put away guys and crooks like Homan. And this idea that this administration wants to just sweep that under the rug and call this the deep state should concern every single American. And so Mike Johnson should immediately join Democrats and call for an investigation on this. I doubt he will, but that would be the right thing to do. And this is going to be important. We've got to bring light to this story, because this is also just some of the corruption that's happening, whether it's the Epstein files, whether it's what they're doing with their illegal detentions across the country. There's a growing level of corruption coming out of this White House, and Donald Trump is at the center of it.
Congressman, let's talk about what happened this week in your oversight of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. You spoke to, behind closed doors, Alex Acosta, who was Trump's first-term Secretary of Labor, who negotiated, when he was U.S. Attorney in Florida, the sweetheart deal for Jeffrey Epstein, where he basically got to leave and go to an office every day while he was in prison for his horrible sexual assaults and crimes. What did you learn from Alex Acosta? Did it illuminate the story and the scandal of what went down anymore? And did he seem remorseful for the role that his office played in not serving Epstein justice?
So we spent several hours with Mr. Acosta. And look, and I'll say that it's because we in the Oversight Committee, the Democrats, pushed to get Acosta subpoenaed that we actually got to speak with him. And every step of the way, Republicans have tried to block the subpoena of the files, block the subpoena of Acosta, try to block us from getting the birthday book that we obviously put out to the public. So when Acosta actually came, I think what's been most disturbing about his testimony and really some of the conversations after that we've had is he showed absolutely no remorse. I asked him directly. He was sitting right across from me, and I asked Mr. Acosta directly. I said, do you understand that the 18-month sentence that you gave him was a sweetheart deal? Do you regret that sweetheart deal? He looked back and said that he did not regret it. He stood by it. I reminded him that during that 18-month sentence, Jeffrey Epstein was allowed a work release where he left his confinement and went on to abuse and rape other women, other people that he violently abused. In fact, one of those women I spoke to directly myself just a couple of weeks ago. And I reminded him of that. He wouldn't even admit or acknowledge that anyone was abused during that time, which is crazy. This is a person, Acosta, that knows more about this case than almost anyone. I want to remind the public, his line prosecutor, the person that was actually in charge of the case, wanted to go and get a federal indictment.
Trump can try to hide, but this scandal's not going away. And it exposes the hypocrisy because as he's trying to effectively, and he did it in public, remember he posted on social media basically saying, hey, Pam, referring to Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, who again, it needs to be made clear, is in Trump's cabinet, so she serves at his pleasure, right? Like, Trump can fire her at any moment. That is true. But she is not Trump's attorney. She's not Trump's lawyer. Like, Trump has his own personal lawyers, and then there are White House lawyers that are there to represent the president as the office and in Trump's conduct as president. But they are distinct from the Attorney General. The Attorney General is the top lawyer at the Department of Justice, but they are not the president's pit bull, right? They're not. At least they shouldn't be. And Trump's saying to them, go out and basically dig up dirt and attack my political enemies, to me is an act of treason, because it's a willful distortion and perversion of the Constitution, separation of powers, the president understanding their role, the president not putting themselves above the law and other people below the law. But you combine it with the Tom Homan stuff. Very clearly, this guy was under criminal investigation and it was just dropped while he's going on about the dangerous illegals, right? Hurting our country with their crime. AOC had that great tweet, which is like, who's the illegal one now, Tom? Right? So you see what's happening here. Trump is putting, at least allegedly in this case, because he hasn't been convicted, putting alleged crooks in charge of systems of justice, his staff, to go out and arrest his enemies, who may or may not, but probably have not done anything wrong. And so he can try to hide away, try to hide his treasonous acts. We're still going to cover them here.